Hi, I'm Martin Strivens, Master Photographer. I've been asked to show you how I photograph some of my still life stuff. So this is my little office. Welcome to my office, welcome to my studio. This is my setup. This is how, you don't need a massive space for what I'm going to show you. You can have quite a small space. Now what I've done is I've got one of my backgrounds which is a grey background. I like grey. I like it better than black. I feel black, it's difficult to separate from the background. With this one we can put textures in it if we want to, we can cut it out easily, we can do all kinds of things, and it just gives a little bit of texture into the background. What I've got here, I've got some oranges, some satsumas, some clementines, all this kind of stuff. When I go shopping, I look for something a little bit different. I look for something which I think is going to photograph well. And I was in Morrison's the other day and I came across these and I thought, yes, I'm going to have some of those. Not only are they healthy for you, but they'll make a great picture on your wall. So I bought those. I've got a few little props. I've got my trusty flower pot there. I also bought some flowers, which are these lovely lilies. You've got to be careful with them though, because if you've got cats or animals or any of that kind of thing, the pollen inside is quite poisonous, and also if it gets on your clothes it can be a bit of a nightmare. So what we've got here is I've got my stuff, my models, if you like. We've got a reflector. Now every photographer should have at least a couple of these in their bags. Small ones, big ones, different size ones, silver, gold, white, black even, just because they're an amazing lighting instrument. Every photographer should have one of these. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be lighting these with one light, and I'm going to be reflecting a little bit of light back into it. Now whether I want that light cool, I'll use the silver, or whether I want that light warm, I'll use the gold. So I won't really know that until I start photographing it. Now, I'm not overly technically minded. I'm not one of these guys who's got a light meter. I'm going to start testing everything. And for me, I'm a touchy-feely kind of guy. So I like to be able to see what I'm shooting. That's why I'm shooting tethered. I've got my D4S, which is tethered to my Mac, which I've actually got on my big television, which is on that wall there. Now, I've got it on Lightroom Classic. Lightroom Classic is the only Lightroom that I can actually get to work with tethered. As I say, I'm not technically minded. I don't know why or ifs or buts. I just know it works. So if it works, I'm going to use it, which is fantastic. So I've got some lino here. It's a great alternative to wood. I mean, you can distress wood, you can get big tabletops. I mean, if you've got a bigger studio and you've got a desk and it's distressed, or you've got a nice piece of oak or something like that, that's great. What I've got is I've got some lino, and when I had my studio, this was the floor to it, and I had a number of these which I could slot in and take out. I've stuck it to a piece of plywood, whatever it's called, and it works a treat for me. It gives me that distressed wooden feel, and no one can really tell the difference. It's brilliant, it's lovely. So I'm going to be photographing on that. Now I'm just going to use one light, as I've said before. This is a rectangular little softbox. Now I love this little softbox. I've had it for absolutely years. In fact, it's still got Calumet written on the top of it, which shows just how long ago I bought it. And I'm going to be using my AD600, which is Godox. Now, I love Godox. If you've got enough money and you've bought a Pro Photo, fantastic, that's absolutely great. But for me, for the money, for the quality, you can't beat Godox. You really can't. They're a fantastic little unit. It's battery powered, so there's no cables or anything like that. I haven't got to worry about tripping over cables. I can move it about wherever I want. It's got a fantastic display. on the side here. Tells me everything I need it to. I'll power it on there, on off. It's got high-speed sync. It's got absolutely everything on there. I love it. It's on B. I won't be using high-speed sync today because we won't need it. Nothing's moving, so I'm just going to be using it on normal mode. Right, so this is number B, and it's because I have a radio trigger here. I can actually alter the power settings from my radio trigger. So sometimes when I've got 3 lights set up, I get a big A, B and C on a piece of card, and I'll put it on my lights so that when I'm from my camera I don't have to keep coming over and seeing which is which and which one I've got to alter on here. And that might be a tip for you, just remember that, you know, A, B, C, you know, put it on there so if you've got a bit of a lighting set up, you know which ones to alter and adjust. Because as I say, I'm not a guy with a light meter. There is a light meter in here somewhere, I'm not sure where it is, but I don't use it because I like to feel the light. I like to feel the mood that it's giving me. And so what I do is I adjust to that feeling. And you know, that's something with experience that you'll get. You'll adjust it and you'll feel great. That looks good, that doesn't look good. You know. So that's on a 16th power at the moment. I'm going to shoot here, sideways on. And the reason I'm going to be doing that is because I love the light. I love the way that it makes, it gives depth to whatever you're shooting, a still life. You can shoot from up top, you can shoot from the sides, you can shoot, you know, but light, if you've ever photographed an egg, different angles will give you different feelings, different moods to whatever you're photographing. Now I'm photographing this way because as I photograph, it will give depth. It will give, it will make these stand out, if you like. They'll look brilliant. They'll look really, really nice. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use one light. I'm going to set them up, and I'm going to make them look, you know, the way that I think it will look good, and it will give depth to the picture itself. So enough of me yabbering along. Let's get to actually shooting one of these. I've got the oranges ready. I've got my little orange basket which I bought from Morrison's. It's good, this. And I want them to look like there's more than there actually are. I want them to look, you know, I want the main focus to be on the oranges rather than the box. So I've just got some newspaper. I'm going to put the newspaper inside the little box, and then I'm going to put the oranges in there. Now, you know, be as artistic as you want. You know, this is going to be hopefully up on your wall or someone else's wall for a long time. I'm going to leave that one down there. I'm going to put that one there. And I'm going to put that one up there, because that one's got more of a do than all the others. So that one's going to be there. Now these little bits of leaves, they came out of the bottom of the packet. I'm not going to throw them away because I want to add a little bit of green into the shot with all that orange. So I'm going to put that there, and I'll put that there. Right. So what I'm going to do now, make sure everything's on, make sure everything's working. I've got the trigger going, my light's on. It's a 16th at the moment, which is fine, and that's what I'm going to experiment with. I'm going to look at that. I've got it on f11. Shutter speed isn't that important at this point. My ISO, I've got it on about 250, and I'm going to try a test shot. I've got it on f11. I don't know if I said that or not. I've got it on f11 because on this one I want to get everything in focus. I want to get as many of the oranges as in focus as I can. Now I'm looking through there. I'm coming in. I'm now going to fire one off. Have a look and see how the light looks on that. Now I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that's way too bright, way too low, which is fantastic. Okay. So it's not bad, it's just a little bit too bright and I'm a little bit too low. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. Not too much, just a bit. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. Now this is what I love about photography. This is my canvas, this is my paintbrushes. This is me just manipulating it a little bit, just messing about with it, and I think that's the fun of photography. That's where, you know, that's where your artistic bent comes in. You know, I don't expect to fire my first shot and it be perfect. I mean, where would the fun be in that? I'm actually building this image up. I'm building it into what I want it to be. So that looks a lot better to me. I'm going to fire that off. Let's have a quick look at that. Yeah, now that again is not too bad. That's pretty good. Again, maybe a little bit too bright. So I'm going to bring that lighting back and down just a little bit. So here we go. I'm just going to bring this down, more in line with the fruit. I'm going to bring it back a little bit more. Again, I'm in limited space and I'm just going to move it around to about there. Now, it was on a 16th, as you remember. I'm shooting f11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my Godox trigger. I'm going to look for B, which it was. And I'm going to reduce that down a little bit. I'm going to put that down a stop to 132. Right, let's try that again. Right, let's have a look and see how that goes. Ah, now there we go. Straight away, they've got what I like. It's got the moodiness. It's got the feel. I like that very much. It's got the colours. The background looks good. I think I might just mess around a little bit more with the actual oranges in the basket. But I like the light on that. I like the lighting on that very much. Right, so let's just have a look back here now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just take those out. I mean, you know, experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment. Get something that you want, that you like. I'm going to get these. And because at the end of the day, you are the artist. This is your image. This is, you know, your vision of what your still life is going to be. Got a little more paper in there. And I mean, if there is a little bit of paper showing, I mean, that's the joy of Photoshop. You know, just get rid of it. Just airbrush it out. Again, I just want that. I like that one. I like that. I like his haircut. So I'm going to put that on the corner there. And build these up a little bit. I don't want them to look. I want them to. I don't want them to look placed, even though I am placing them. So I want them to look as random as possible. Your cup runneth over, as they say. You know, I've got a little bit of newspaper, which you can see in there. Hopefully the shadows may get rid of it, but if it doesn't, again, Photoshop, I'm just going to touch that out. So I'm looking at that. I think, yeah, that's not too bad at all. Let me have a look at there. Maybe it needs one just sitting down on the side there. Maybe one just to bring up the height a little bit there as well. let's give that another go, see what we got. Move that across a bit. Now I'm not sure if that leaf on the side there, that might be a little bit too much, I think. So I'm going to get rid of some of those leaves on there because you can't see the orange. But again, this is all the fun of it. This is the great part of actually creating something. In fact, I might just take that orange there and swap it over with that orange there. In fact, there might be just a little bit too much there, so I'm just going to snip a bit off. There we go. We've got just one nice green leaf there, and that can cover up that hole there. Now let's have another look. Yeah, I'm liking that. Yeah, that to me is pretty perfect. Yeah, so now if you look at that image, that's just one light. And so on the right hand side of that image, it's very, very dark. There's no light there at all. It's too dark, in fact. So what we do now is we do this. Move that over there a little bit. So my camera is focused, I like it, everything's sharp. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it to manual focus on the lens. So that means it's not going to be hunting about. We're going to do that without actually touching the focus, so I know it's going to be sharp. And this is where the reflector comes in. So I've got my reflector here. So first of all, I'm going to try it on the silver side. I'm going to put that down on there, and already it's reflecting light back into the fruit. So there I am on my own assistant, and immediately, if you look at that, you can now see the light coming in on the shadow side. And I really like that. I think that's lovely. Again, you know, the reflector's there, it doesn't matter. I can take it out in Photoshop later. So I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do another one on the gold side. So I'll put that on there. Bang. And again, we can have a look and we can see the difference. Again, it's darker than the silver side. There isn't so much light going in there. It is warm. I mean, if I wanted to, I could adjust that a little bit later in Photoshop, or I could do it in Lightroom. But I think that looks really good. Yeah, I might just do a couple more with the silver side. But yeah, I really like that. So that's great. I'm going to do it once more. Just do it on that, do it on the silver side. And of course you can adjust this. It's very easy. You know, you've got the light coming in from that side. So you can adjust it to suit. So if you think, oh, my shadows are a little bit too dark on that side, well, just move your reflector around over onto that side. And you go bang, and we can have another look. Oh, and that's perfect. That really is nice. So if you keep looking at that, so what I can do to show you is, you know, I can go now over to that one, and that was the gold one. That was the first silver one, and that was the one without it at all. So now you can see how just that one reflector can just lighten those shadows just a little bit, and you've still got the depth. You've got the depth, and you've got the everything that you need. Yeah, I like that very much. That's the one for me. You've got the depth, you've got the sharpness, you've got everything. And I'll put a vignette on there. I'll just darken down the sides. I'll darken the front a little bit. I'll airbrush out all the little you know, bits of dust and what have you around it. And I think, yeah, that'll add beautifully to my collection of fruit and veg. Thank you very much for listening. That was absolutely brilliant. Okay, so we've come to the editing stage. I've been through the different ones and I really like this one, so I'm going to edit. This is just the way that I edit. I'm sure there's better ways. I'm sure there's, you know, aficionados out there who will tell me that I'm doing it all wrong, but this is the way that I do it. This is the way I like to do it. I'll just have a little look, see what the highlights do, see if I bring it. I don't want to, I'm aware of those light spots, those highlights. I don't want to make them too bright, so a little bit in the highlights there. Let's have a look at the shadows. I'm going to lighten the shadows just a fraction there. Like to put a little bit of texture in, not too much. Fraction of clarity. Vibrance, I think they're pretty orange as it is, so I'm going to leave that until we get to Photoshop. They look pretty damn sharp to me as well. Right, so what I do now is I export it. I'm exporting it as a TIFF, and I'm exporting it as a 16-bit file. Now I'm doing that to get the best possible quality that I can get. It's outside. Right, here we are. This is the picture that I like. I've been through them and I've chosen one with the silver side because it adds just a little bit more depth onto the shadowed side. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it down, get rid of the reflector. I mean, I like negative space. I don't want too much of it though. There's nothing, I have nothing against space. And I mean, that is one of the things that a lot of people do. They don't give their subjects enough space. So that's what I'm doing now. Space is not your enemy. It is the final frontier. Don't forget it. Yeah, I like that. That's nice. Yeah, that's not bad at all. So the second thing I'm going to do, shall I say, is I'm going to add a vignette. And the way that I add my vignettes is I add a levels layer. Then I go to my gradient tool. I click on my circular. It's got to be the spherical one. I pull it out to the edge. There we go. And what I do is I invert it. Go to my properties. And then what we do is we can darken those edges down as much as you want to. That's great. And the good thing about a mask is we can grab a paintbrush and we can, oops, wrong one. We can undo it a bit if we want to. So there's some stuff there which was darkened down that we didn't really want darkened down. You can just undo it a bit. And when you're doing this, make sure your brush is a big softie. Mine's 21%, which is fine. You don't want a hard edge when you're doing anything like this, not with a gradient. Right? Yeah, I'm liking that very, very much. I think that's great. Next thing I want to do is this the foreground here is a little bit too light for me. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to add another one. Levels, back to layers. Again, my gradient one. And I'm going to go for this one. I'm going to click on here. I'm going to pull it down a bit. There we go. It doesn't look too bad. Let's go to properties. Let's see. Oops. You know what I did? I didn't invert it. There we go. Back to properties. There we go, and you can see I can darken down my foreground now as much as I want. That's not bad at all. And again, I've got my brush here, so if I think it's encroaching a bit too much on the orange, I can always get rid of that. But no, I really do like that. I think it might be a little bit too light on that side. So again, I'm going to go for another layer. Oops, other levels. Back there. Again, gradient tool. And just bring it out a little bit that way. There we go, invert it. Back to properties. You can darken that down a fraction there. There we go. Just take the edge off. So now you're focusing completely on those oranges. They look absolutely brilliant. Another thing I like to do is, let's go for a black and white layer. There we go, black and white, pow. If we go back to our layers, we can change it to luminosity. Go back to properties, and then we can have a play with some of these. Let's see what the reds do. Whoa, we don't want that. They look like Christmas baubles. Oh, that's quite good, I think. Not bad. Let's pull that out. Let's see what yellow does. Greens. Does that do anything? Blues. I got the blues. Magenta. No, not really. I think really the reds are the only ones there. We can make them more orangey if we want to. Again, this is all your personal preference. How, you know, how do you want your art to look? I actually quite like that. Let's go back to layers. Let's see if it's, that was our original. Yeah. Just adds a little bit to it. Which is nice. Right. So what I do now is I'm going to go to my spot healing tool, and I'm going to zoom it in a bit. I don't know where all that yuck came from. Oops. Good, I was on the right background. Now I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Of course, if I'd done it properly in the first place and got rid of all this while I was doing it, I wouldn't have to waste my time now. There's the little things like this which are important, you know, that stuff like this can let your images down. So it's best just to get rid of them now, rather than be marked down, or you look at it forever and a day and think, oh, that's terrible, why didn't I get rid of that? A lot of rubbish here. Why? Get off. What are you doing? Why did I not do this in the first place? So everybody who's watching this, you may want to fast forward this bit because I'm going to be doing it for a while. Maybe you can do fast forwarding and editing. I'm sure there's some boffins out there who'd be able to tell me that. Anyway, you get the general idea. I'm using a tablet to do this, which is an easy way of doing it. I'd rather do it with a tablet than I would a mouse. And you know, it's best to do it at this start. I mean, if you want to blow it up big, or you want to do something with it, then you don't want to be looking at all this rubbish all the time. Too close to the orange. There you go. Got a lot of stuff over on that side as well, which I want to get rid of. So I'm just using the spot healing tool here. I mean, I started on a little SE30. Oh God, years and years and years ago. I mean, we never had anything like this. You never had previews. You just had to guess at what you were doing. We never had a clone tool. Don't think we had a clone tool. Soon we'll just be pressing a button and it'll do everything that we want it to do. There we go, nearly done. Oh, go away. There we go. A few more little bits. Another one. There we are. Let's have a look at the front of this. Let's get rid of that. Don't really need that. Get rid of that one. There we go. Let's see what it does over here. Let's see if we can get rid of that. Yeah. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. That's not bad. There we go. I'm going to go over to the clone tool for this bit. Oops. I suppose it doesn't really matter because it's a old wooden box, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. There we go. Maybe I'll just clone that little bit there, just make it a little bit neater. Hopefully you'll be the only person who will be looking at it this closely. Look at that, I had a load of newspaper sticking out there. Oh! Let's just get rid of that. No, come over here for this bit. There we go. Isn't Photoshop amazing? Yeah, that's great. I really like that. I've got some. Look at that. Some newspaper showing up here. So get rid of that. Why did it do that? Don't do that. Press the wrong button, sorry. There we go. Let's get rid of a little bit of that. Who would have thought trying to do a video would be so complicated? I've had dogs barking, I've had children on quad bikes, I've had phone calls. So let's pick up where we are. I was just cloning out this little bit of newspaper on this orange. There we go. I mean, if I'm honest, I'm pretty OCD on this kind of stuff. I mean, most people wouldn't notice it. I'm sure there are some in the Master Photography Association who would. And I'm sure there's some in the Master Photography Association who are looking at this now going, he's doing it all wrong. Why is he doing it like that? Because this is the way that I do it. Alright, here we go. Right, I'm on my healing brush now. I don't want anything to stand out. I don't want anything to catch the viewer's eye that I don't want them to see. Oh, look, I've got a spot. I've got a dust spot. Got to get my sensor cleaned. There we go. Just cloning that out now. There we are. Now, looking at these oranges, I mean, the oranges are a little bit battered about. So you could spruce them up a little bit as well. Maybe get rid of some of these spots. I mean, I don't want to do too, I don't want them to look too perfect. I mean, they've got to look authentic. I just don't want anything which is going to stand out. There we go. Just going to maybe use the clone tool on this one. This is how OCD I am. There we go. So look at that. Now I'm looking at it and I'm not sure if that stalk, that one there, I'm not sure if I like that. It's a little bit standouty, isn't it? So what I might do is I might get rid of that. So I'll just clone that out, but you don't need to see that. But there you go, that is how I do my editing and how I shot my fruit. And yeah, I really like that. Thank you for taking the time to watch. If you've got any questions, just let me know, and I hope you enjoyed the video.